The writing process has always been the same. It's just me, I just need my pen and paper. And it used to be a lot of diary notes that I translated into poetry or translated into English. Lately, it's not that much diary. It's more, sitting down and focusing and writing on the lyrics just. And the melodies usually come pretty easily together with the words. And then I sit by the piano and just take out the basic structure before I go over to my piano player, and he developed my little basic arrangement kind of. And then we go into the studio and we start to arrange and produce the songs. Yeah, and we've been the same three guys in the studio now for 20 years, and we try to. Sometimes we need to call in extra additional musicians who play instruments that we don't. But usually, most of the tracks is just the three of us. That's the process really, and we try. We've been doing so many records now, and I know that my writing is pretty much the same as it was in the beginning, so it's important that when we arrange and produce the tracks, we try new ways of doing it, new combinations of instruments and new directions, even though I think we stay pretty much the same. There's nothing that inspires me really when it comes to the songwriting. I think even maybe I try to stay away from inspiration when it comes to the writing. But when it comes to arranging and producing, we work a lot with inspirations. That's where a lot of inspirations actually are brought together. I'm very inspired by soundtracks and the dramaturgy of film music. We also take influences from like a lot of the new guys, like a lot of the new electronic acts like Burial or Jamie XX, or I love FK Twigs, Grimes. There's a lot of new acts that I really find interesting, and I can't say that they inspire me totally, but I do find it interesting to hear. In the beginning, on the first record, for example, it's pretty obvious that I was very much into the James Bond films, the John Barry soundtracks. On the second, I had discovered a lot of the French soundtrack makers like Michel Legrand, Francis Lay, Serge Gainsbourg. On the third album, I was much more into Hitchcock and John Carpenter. Hitchcock, that means Bernard Herrmann. And then I think I'm a big Morricone fan. I adore Ryuichi Sakamoto. There is so many soundtracks. I love a lot of the TV series as well, the old ones from the 60s, and even the black and white ones. There is a lot of. I think that the soundtracks and film music were made for a different purpose. It was made just to support the moving images. So, but I have not seen much of the images to the soundtracks I'm listening to. I prefer to listen to the music without the visuals, because that's where I feel the biggest dramaturgy is brought as an inspiration to me, and I try to bring a little bit of that drama into my stuff. Yeah. Well, the two soundtracks I've been making, I found it very interesting because then I didn't need to focus on my voice, which was really fun. Because I enjoy writing for my songs and I enjoy singing, but it was very different and exciting to do the soundtracks as well, because that was a collaboration with visionary people who had another idea, and I more or less just needed to support them. And it was interesting to not have to focus on my voice. I never really stop writing. It's not that I go into a writing period. I constantly write. It's more the fact that I have to tell myself that now that's the last song I write for this record. And then we finalize that record, we release it, we go on tour with it, but I continue writing and I start kind of directly working on the next record. And so for me, it has always been the logical continuation of what I was doing before. And the main idea has always been just to continue doing what I'm doing. It's not that I have a special concept for each record or anything. I mean, yes, on Antenna it was a different concept, because there I had decided to let other people more or less remix the demos I was making. It was very much in some way kind of a remix record, because I have always produced my albums myself, but Antenna I haven't produced it myself except one song. The rest was done by some Swedish guys and some German guys, and so Antenna was a different kind of concept. But for all the other records, it's more the follow-up to the record before. I guess I would like to spend more time doing it. I would like to focus harder on it, and also, honestly, I think I would like to make a video for each song on each record. But it's really a time thing that usually when the record is done, we end up in the process of the whole launching of the record and the promo of the record. So we haven't really got that much time to focus on the videos as much as I would like to. I guess I even would like to maybe have a video that we record during maybe half a year to see a process of something, or but this has just never been possible to make, really. Or I would like to make maybe an animated video, but that would also take a lot of time to make. And but yeah, I like it. I also like making my record covers and doing the photos and such. But as I said, yeah, I would like to spend more time doing it. But I can't really, because my focus is to make the music and to perform the music. So that gives less time to focus on the rest. Yeah. I was a huge Cocteau fan already back in 1982, 83, when they released their first EPs and the great albums. And Treasure, the album from 1983, is really like a masterpiece for me as a young teenager. I mean, I was a fan of all the 4AD records, and also I was a fan of the artworks. And I think it's only Velvet Underground that is, and Cocteau Twins, that's the only real bands that I'm really a big fan of. And I mean, I would never ever dare to contact the Cocteau Twins, but it was in 1997. It was the time when Liz Fraser had left the Cocteau Twins. She had moved down to Bristol, started working with a Massive Attack for the Teardrop thing, and left in Twickenham in London was the two guys of the Cocteau Twins, and they decided that they wanted to try to work with a male voice, and they called me. I was like, I remember it. So I was sitting in the bed, the phone was calling, and it was Robin Guthrie on the phone. He had got the phone number from my record label people. They knew. Usually they didn't give my number, but they knew when Robin called and said, "Yeah, you can have it. We know he's going to be happy if you call." So he just called, and I answered, and yeah, I flew over to London a couple of days later, and we started working back in '97, and we have done a lot of things that has never been released, and it's going to be released one day, because it's very, very sweet, all of it. Yeah, Believe in Us is a funny story, absolutely, because I wrote it on my 30th birthday. It was the day. It was the time when I didn't have any flat at the time. I was in the period between two apartments, and so during that period I was sleeping in the studio, and we were recording Poison, and we had decided, because it was my birthday, we had decided not to work, because it was my birthday, so we should not work that day. But when I woke up the morning, I was putting on the electricity in the studio, and I decided to start to work a bit of myself in the studio that day. And it started with a bass line, bum, 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 bum. And then I sampled some drum beats, and I did some treatments of these drum samples, and I added that flute thing, and then I took the lyric of a verse I had written a couple of years earlier to a song that I didn't finish, and I did that, the words, and the whole song was finished before I went to bed the same day. So it was all done by me. It was the first time I did the song entirely by myself, and I did it from the morning to the evening. It just took 20 hours to complete the whole track from beginning to the end, and yeah, it was a very peculiar birthday.